Welcome in, everybody. Glad to see you on this Sunday night. Appreciate you being here and a lot to cover on this Sunday night. Welcome into Rebel Report Live. My name is Michael Borky. Again, I appreciate you guys very much for being here. A busy weekend in sports. There was, some basketball recruiting. In fact, I think I will do a standalone episode on that. Just because the baseball series obviously went to a conclusion today. We had the Grove Bowl that happened. And I kind of feel like the basketball commitment is going to fly under the radar on today's episode. And I don't think it should because it's a good start. Now, they're not anywhere close to being done, but a really good start for Chris Beard in the transfer portal. So that'll be standalone, I think, because there's possibly some more news coming as well. So anyway, glad you guys are here. Please leave a comment, by the way. I would love to hear from you. That's kind of the whole point of doing these lives. So what did you think about the weekend? Both baseball series win over Mississippi State and Grove Bowl games, whatever it was. If you have some thoughts, we will get to those coming up here in a little bit. But let me start with some thoughts for you. A few things. Start with baseball. And then I also want to ask you, please follow me, social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, at Michael Borky, Borkey. Subscribe to this podcast if you've not already. Just search Rebel Report. I know there's a good bit of you that listen on the website. Pull out your favorite podcast app, search Rebel Report, subscribe, and leave a rating and a review. Appreciate you guys being here. Let's get started. So let's start with baseball, because baseball team earned the lead today, and they get a much-needed series win. And so let's pause the Mississippi State part of this for a second and just talk about the series win that they needed desperately. Now, 2 games are not the season that did not turn around this weekend. That remains to be seen. Completely remains to be seen. But they were going into the weekend 3-9. This was a do or die. You get this series win, or else the postseason is not going to happen. That's really kind of how it boiled down to this weekend. It was a home series against a team that's good, but certainly not great in the SEC, a winnable series, and you have to win these at home if you're going to make the postseason. Ole Miss had 2 consecutive embarrassing weekends, and if you want to loop Tennessee's 2 run rules in there, you could argue that they had 3 consecutive embarrassing weekends. To avoid this train completely derailing, they needed a series win this weekend badly, and I certainly did not expect them to get one after they got flat out embarrassed in game 1 of this series. Maddox was good until he kind of ran out of gas there. I just don't think that he'll be able to run up a high pitch count for you. But either way, they got embarrassed. They didn't play well. They were non-competitive at the plate and got absolutely blown out in game 1 of a series. So that was 8 consecutive conference losses, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because the one at Tennessee, 2 sweeps, 8 consecutive conference losses. They come out in game 2, and I expected to see the Q word, the dreaded Q word. We talked about it in the Kentucky series. They quit in the second 2 games in the Kentucky series. I think it's fair to say that now. The energy level was completely and totally non-existent. They quit in that series. This was prime quit spot. That's what I was looking for on Saturday, frankly, was to see if this team was going to get up off the mat and fight, or were they going to lay down and concede the season, basically. And they most definitely did not do the second one. They came out and they punched State in the mouth, and but then they had to play this close game where it was back and forth, and they gave some things away, and they got some things given to them. And they get into extra innings. It's a long game. You're in extras, and State hits a home run. And in that moment, it kind of felt like that's the series. That's the series, and that's the season. That was a thought that I had in my head. I'd be lying to you guys if I didn't think that or if I didn't tell you that. I'd be lying to you guys if I said I didn't have that thought. That's what I'm trying to say. I had that thought that, well, that's the season. And then Johnny Long threw his bat. I didn't have a problem. Bat flips don't bother me. My philosophy on that is, for whatever it's worth, if you don't like bat flips, don't give up home runs. if my son plays baseball, I will strongly encourage him not to bat flip. But I have said that over the years about everybody, not just this particular play. But I don't think that th- they don't bother me. I'm not going to tell my son to do it, but whatever, you know. But the rule says that if you do that at the opposing team's bench, you're supposed to be ejected. He was not ejected from the game. Mike Bianco comes out of the dugout and is as animated as I've ever seen him. He gets like that occasionally, but not much. And you can hear on a hot mic him using some words that I'm not going to repeat on here. He was fired up and animated and got ejected from the game, and his team responded. And then his team responded for 9 innings on the next day as well. And they just kicked Mississippi State's you know what today. So they went from getting embarrassed on their home field to giving up a go ahead home run and extras in game two. Guy that, a week ago got into some stuff, flips his bat at your bench, coach gets run, and the team responds. And then they come out the next day with a purpose and they go and win a series. Now, what happened over the last 10 innings, we've seen this team be capable of that this season. And then the next series, it went away. I'm talking about South Carolina. They looked like this against South Carolina. A week later, they got run ruled twice in 3 games. So I am not going to start doing the team is back, they've turned it around thing. In fact, I think that would be wrong to do. That, the Rebs are back, or they got hot, and oh no, they let them get hot. I need to see this more than just two games in a home series, but before I start telling you that things have turned around. I think it would be a little goofy for me to do that. It would be silly for me to do that right now. But I did like what I saw. That was a prime quit spot for Ole Miss, and they did just the opposite. They responded. Mississippi State punched them in the mouth on Friday night, played a close game the next day, got punched in the mouth in that close game in extras, come back, win that game in dramatic fashion, and then punch Mississippi State back in the mouth in game 3. And now the postseason becomes at least a conversation point for another week. Now they're 5-10. I'm aware of that. They got swept 2 weekends in a row. One weekend does not change anything, really. They still have a lot of work to do. They have to be a lot more consistent. Yes, they won a series, but there is still so much to prove before we start talking about postseason. But at least that possibility remains. And if you look at we lost camera, but not audio. Go figure. I thought I fixed that part. Anyway, point is, as I try to get the camera back, let's try this. Gosh, what an embarrassment this. Sorry. Gosh, this is so embarrassing every time. Oh, well, old equipment. It's what I got to deal with here. But what they've done is make the conversation real for another week. That is what Ole Miss has done for another week, is they are at least keeping that opportunity alive. And when you look at the schedule, it is manageable. Now they got to play well. They have to continue whatever they found in the last 10 innings. That has got to continue over the next few weeks. Georgia is a good baseball team, but it's not an insurmountable task in Athens next weekend. Alabama is falling off a cliff. You get them at home. I say falling off a cliff. That's not exactly fair. Certainly winnable series at home. Auburn is very bad at this point, and it's on the plains, but still. It's there for them. There's an opportunity to rattle off some wins with LSU and Auburn being as bad as they are, Alabama being at home. There's opportunities for wins on the Ole Miss schedule. Sitting at 5-10, I mean, it kind of feels like they have to go 10-5. Maybe could get away with 9-6 because the strength of schedule and the RPI is good enough. I think at that mark, if they close these next 15 games with a winning record, maybe that's possible as well, but there is a path for them. They are not completely out of it yet. So at least for another week, the conversation can be about what the magic number is, what they have to do because of this series win. So there's that. It's a big series win. It was important. I think the fan base needed it. The players needed it. The program needed it and all that, just from a wins and losses and how things have gone lately perspective. But you can't ignore the Mississippi State component of this as well. You can't ignore it. Mississippi State has completely and totally dominated Ole Miss for almost a decade. Good Mississippi State teams, bad Mississippi State teams still beat Ole Miss. Chris Lemonis, John Cohen, Andy Canizaro's replacement, it doesn't matter. Fire coaches in midseason, have a long tenured coach, it doesn't matter. Mississippi State has owned Ole Miss for almost a decade now. Chris Lemonis's comments after game one kind of shed some light on why that happened. Frankly, I think that measuring yourself against your rival is not something you should do, especially in football. We talk about that in football a lot, where if you're hyper focused on Mississippi State, if you're Ole Miss, that's a dumb thing to do. You should have aspirations beyond just beating an in-state rival. But in baseball, Mississippi State has owned Ole Miss, and you guys know that. You saw the graphic. Tom Hart talked about it, and Kyle Peterson talked about it. Over 3,000 days since Ole Miss had won a series against Mississippi State. That does matter when it gets to that point. It certainly does. And for State to embarrass Ole Miss on their home field on Friday night, and for them to turn around against that team that, again, after that first game, Chris Lemonis shed some light on how big of an emphasis the Ole Miss series is in that program. They hate Ole Miss. They talk about it. They care about it. It matters deeply. That series is different. And Ole Miss hadn't matched that energy. It had showed over the last 8 years, not this weekend. I think that is, I'm not talking about saving jobs or anything, but just to get the Mississippi State monkey off of their back was significant as well. And the manner in which they went about it was significant. I guess that's the word I'm going to keep using. So has the season been saved? Absolutely not. Has all of the energy around the program and the disappointment about the season changed? It shouldn't as of this moment. They're 5-10 after 15 games in the league. This season is still not going well. 2 wins against an average Mississippi State team is not going to change that. However, there were a lot of things that you can like about the way they won this series. They finally got the Mississippi State monkey off their back. Played with a lot of confidence today, a lot of energy. Maybe this was the catalyst that can turn a season around. We'll have to see, but at least for another week, we get to talk about baseball here, and you guys get to engage with baseball as fans. So a successful weekend on the diamond, and good stuff there. We'll continue after I tell you the podcast is brought to you by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online. absms.com. That's the website if your Mississippi business is in the market for office technology. And I mean anything. Copiers and printers, mail machines, cloud storage, data security, IT projects, phones, systems, whatever it is. If it's technology, if it's in the office, and your Mississippi business needs it, check them out. absms.com. Tell them I sent you. You'll get a complimentary office technology assessment. The podcast is also brought to you by Priority One Bank. Bank with me, guys, at Priority One Bank. They have 16 locations here in Mississippi, so there's very likely to be one in your backyard. They make you their priority with local loan servicing and decision-making, so you don't need to hop on Zoom or talk to somebody out of state. If you need a loan or need your loan serviced, it's somebody that you'll get to know. It's somebody that lives in your area instead of, hopefully, in your country. Priority One Bank makes you their priority. Second order of business on the weekend, then we'll get to your comments, is the Grove Bowl. So, spring football games usually draw out overreaction. And you saw a lot of that this weekend. There was a good bit of them this weekend. You saw it with Arkansas's new quarterback, and you saw it with LSU's new quarterback. And oh my gosh, look at how great these guys are as their defense is giving up touchdowns. Spring games are things that you should take very, very little from. And every year, people take way too much out of them, generally speaking. What happened in Oxford yesterday, from a football perspective, there should be not a single football thing to take away from that. Not one. There is nothing that happened in helmetless, padless, 7-on-7 with flags that you should take away at all. And I really mean it all. If you guys want to talk about the things that happened, I mean, I guess we can. I think it would be wasting your and my time to try to draw anything, good or bad, by the way, either side, from helmetless, padless, 7-on-7 with flags on a shortened field in between a dunk contest and a hot dog eating contest. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, football that you can take away from what happened yesterday. Other people can do that if they'd like, and that's fine. You know, I do things wrong in my content and analysis all the time, so maybe this is the wrong way. But I watched that, and I thought somebody's going to try to take football things away from this, and that would be a really goofy thing to do. They were messing around. That's all they were doing, good or bad, neither one. However, so putting that aside, because there's nothing football to take away, it very clearly looked like everybody there was having fun. And so mission accomplished. That is what they were trying to do. And it looks like, and from talking to people that were there, that's exactly what they were able to do. That was a production for the people there. You know, the TV audience probably didn't enjoy it as much as people in the stands did, like the students with the beers and watching the dunks and all that. I bet it was a lot more electric to be there as opposed to watching on television. That was not a made for TV thing. And TV did a good job, though, of incorporating it all. And Tom Hart was perfect for that because he embraces the goofy. I mean, he goofs off during actual football games, so he was good for that role for sure. But it looked like everybody there was having a good time. And when college football can be so stuffy, so serious, so closed off, so caged, so tense, Ole Miss had a party on their spring game day. And I think that's a really cool idea. I was curious to see what that would look like in effect. The idea made sense, but I wanted to see it first before I judged it. Wasn't really for me. I don't think I'm their target audience, but it looked like the fans had a blast. The chestnut thing was really cool. The dunk contest was fun. You did get to see a little bit of football, guys throwing the ball around a little bit, and that's fine. But Kiffin on the mic, everybody just seemed happy and comfortable. And then afterwards, you had Meet the Players Day where fans got to do that thing again. And you guys know me. I rant all the time about how fans are getting pushed away in sports. They are. And one day doesn't change that. But that event, even if it wasn't, felt like it was a show for you guys. It was a show for recruits. The team got to have some fun and do some bonding stuff, but it felt like that was something just to kick back, relax, and enjoy. And there's not enough of that anymore in sports and especially college sports. So I think that what you saw yesterday is going to become the norm elsewhere. People are going to see that, see how much fun they had, hear the reception that the recruits gave. They got to engage with former players, A.J. Brown, Elijah Moore in there hanging out, being involved. That was a success. That's a spring game's not going to make or break wins on the field in the fall. I think the practices have value. All 15 of them have value. To completely eliminate spring practice, I think would be a stupid thing. But the spring game's a watered down scrimmage anyway. What Ole Miss chose to do was get the team together, get the fans together, and just have a good time. And again, there is not just have a good time. There's not enough of that anymore in college sports. It's stuffy, it's contentious, and in Oxford, it's not. The Ole Miss football program is fun. It's fun to cover. It's fun to watch. I assume, based on everybody's reaction, it's fun to be a part of. Talking to some of you guys that were there on Saturday, it's fun to be a fan of. It's totally an outlier in today's college sports. Really is. So hit a home run there. Football wise, nothing. But what they were trying to do, excellent. Absolutely excellent. So anyway, good stuff there. We're going to get to your comments right now. So let's get to it. Good bit of them right now. So let's do it. Appreciate you guys being here. Glad you're here. You don't think many Ole Miss people saw that 2-game response coming? Didn't think they had it in them. I did not. I agree with you. I did not think they had it in them. I didn't. Especially after Long's home run. Now, Bianco getting run maybe changed things a little bit, but no, I did not think after Friday night they had this in them. I sure as hell would not have expected them to run Rule State in Game 3, but would not have expected that at all. So the series shifted when Bianco was tossed after the umps missed the Johnny Long ejection. For sure. And I don't want to call him a liar because that's mean. I think he's lying when he says he wasn't trying to get run. I think he's lying. To the media after the game, he was like, "No, I wasn't trying to. I think he was trying to get run. I think he was, and it worked. The team clearly responded well to that, 100%. In isolation, it's a huge series win for the program and Bianco getting that monkey off their back, but they have to continue to string wins together and stay alive. 8-7 to get to 13-17 is the goal. Their RPI and strength of schedule is really good, but 13-17 with some of the losses that they have doesn't feel like enough. I think that the magic number is 9. 10 and they're in. But I do think the magic number to get back in the postseason is 9. They need 9 more wins somewhere. Grove Bowl weekend, basketball gets a huge transfer. Baseball wins a series against State. Watching your stream while currently watching Billy Joel's 100th show at Madison Square Garden. Can't get better. Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. And you didn't even mention the Masters. I mean, we're seeing a possible Hall of Famer just blossom right in front of our eyes. And an outstanding guy. I love Scotty Scheffler, which is weird to say because I was kind of rooting against him today because I wanted Max Homa to win. I like Max a lot. But I wanted a close back 9 at Augusta, and we didn't get it because Scotty just took complete control of that thing. He seems like a really quality dude. I mean, every interview that he has, he's got great perspective and is you shouldn't model yourself after somebody because they're good at something. And I don't just mean athletes. I mean, I think we idolize the wealthy, and we shouldn't. Just because somebody's rich doesn't mean that they're smart, let alone a good person. Right? You shouldn't idolize an athlete just because they're good at sports. I want for my son to have role models that do more than just one thing good. Music, the same way. Like you shouldn't. If an artist that you like has a certain opinion, you shouldn't share that opinion too, just because they make good music. It applies to literally everything. Scotty Scheffler is one of those people that, like, I hope my son looks up to. You know what I mean? I want because I'm starting to teach him golf, and as he's starting to pick up on things and mature a little bit in his young age, I'm going to show him a lot of Scotty Scheffler and what he says and how he carries himself. Like Demario Davis, when he gets old enough, I'm going to show him a certain post-game press conference that Demario Davis of the Saints did. and say, that is a man there. That is what a man is supposed to be. That's what I want you to be, et cetera, et cetera. But Scheffler is one of those guys. So I felt bad rooting against him. But him being the face of golf is really good for golf. Great for golf. So Long's antics are starting to have an adverse effect on Mississippi State as a whole. I agree. And I don't know if that's going to be talked about enough, but I do agree. Got into an umpire's face in today's game as well. And, this is going to sound kind of mean, but he's not good enough of a player to act like that. And if I say that tomorrow, I'll get all kinds of crap. But I think it's true. Certain players and quality players can get away with stuff like that. But if you've got a guy that, isn't particularly good, that's not only costing you momentum things like what happened with the bat flip, but then literally the next inning, he's letting balls by him that lead to the game-winning runs. I think that they might want to consider kind of reining some of it in. Love energy, love passion, no doubt, 100%. You need some of that on your team sometimes, but there is a line where it could become costly, and he might be getting close to that line. He really might. How does the hot dog eating competition play a role in the winning of the Natty this year? I'll hang up and listen. Because they got to watch greatness. Joey Chestnut, the 20 hot dogs, that was unbelievable. And it was past his record pace, right? Wasn't that ahead of his record pace? Him tagging in and eating that many hot dogs, that is here's how you spin that. You watch that and you tell your guys that is what a champion is. Rising to the occasion when his name is called. I don't know. But that was really impressive, wasn't it? That was nuts. That was absolutely nuts. Looked like he had fun too. Did the post-game press conference and everything. Damn, winning feels good. Yeah, it should, especially against those guys. Hayden and I talked about it Thursday and Friday. It was just complete ownership of Ole Miss, and that changed this weekend. Went to the Grove Bowl and had a good time for what it's worth. That's exactly why what happened is good. Evan, answer me this. Did you have more fun at the Grove Bowl this year than any of the ones you've been to before? Which one did you have more fun attending? This year's or any spring game before? I would love to know that answer. Chestnut being in Oxford was a stroke of genius by Kiffin. Everything that happened. And the thing is, that was their first time. It felt like it could be a little bit more buttoned up. And so as they continue to do this, it'll get better and better and better. And other people are going to copy it. You watch next year, somebody else in the SEC is going to do the same thing. I guarantee it. Promise you, they will. Watching Chestnut eat hot dogs on TV is one thing, but seeing it in person is a completely different experience. Joey Chestnut is like NASCAR or hockey. Watching hockey on TV, I do it. I enjoy it. Watching hockey in person is a totally different deal. Just curious, how much does your audience numbers differ from season to season? I'm assuming that most people tune in during football season. Do people stop watching, listening when seasons don't go well? So for our radio show, we are very lucky. We are very lucky that Richard Cross, a while ago now, a long time ago, had the idea to start a sports talk show that spanned more than one market in the state. That became Head to Head. They joined on to Super Talk. It became Sports Talk Mississippi. And we have a very large and loyal audience that is with us no matter what. They were with us during COVID when there were no sports. They're with us when the teams are good or bad. But that is a core audience number that's always there. It's like our baseline. During every football season, there's more listeners. When football ends, there is a drop off to some degree, always. Baseball and basketball and the summer doesn't move the needle like football. In the summer, people are taking vacations and stuff like that. So football season's always the peak. There is absolutely a difference in seasons based on how good the teams are. And I will say, I either want Ole Miss or Mississippi State to compete for a national championship or be so bad they're firing a coach. Because happy fans listen, angry fans during a coaching search or a soon to be coaching search listen. Fans that have a team in purgatory don't engage as much because the passion's not really there. So I don't know if that answers your question or not. But yes, generally speaking, we do have a really good core audience that never changes. But there are peaks during football season. More people listen when the teams are better, or firing a coach, for sure. Ole Miss was dead in the water, down 7-3 in game 2, and they took all the energy away from State and crushed them. Thought Bianco outcoached Lamonis. Yes, Leger has turned into Mr. Reliable for Ole Miss. The guy is so solid. He was absolutely elite this weekend, and frankly, he's been really, really good in conference play. He had a above 300 average in conference play going into the weekend. So imagine what it's going to look like now. I haven't looked yet, but I will, and the numbers are going to be even better. He's been awesome. Long was asking to be ejected with what he did. It's in the rule book. There's a difference between being an energy guy and a yes, there is. Looked like a reversal of fortune. State is always the one to win the close game or walk off Ole Miss. It felt different. Ole Miss finally caught the break. Yes. Need some of that growth collective for new equipment. Yeah. It's always going to be like this. We'll see what the tax man does for me. Alabama just took 2 of 3 from Arkansas. Holy crap, did they really? Yeah, I said they were falling apart, and I'm glad I caught myself because they were not. But let's see. I've been watching the Masters all weekend. Forgive me for saying something stupid, but you guys should know by now that the stupid things get said by me often. Man, these school websites, every time I try to pull one up, they're awful. 13-17 with a Governor's Cup win and a win or two in Hoover could be enough. It certainly could. Ole Miss's strength of schedule right now is playing into their hands. Yeah, Alabama is 6-9 in conference play, so only one game ahead of Ole Miss in conference play. So not particularly good at the moment either, but still did beat Arkansas. Despite what some people say, it's not a rivalry or LSU's the main rival. According to this weekend, that doesn't seem to be the case. Yeah, I don't like when people do that because very clearly Mississippi State is Ole Miss's rival. They are. Now, you can have a discussion about in football or just in general daily life, the Egg Bowl matters more for some than others. You can make that, you can have that conversation. But in baseball, you can't do the little brother stuff. After Friday night, I saw some of that. It's little brother doing little brother things. And it's like, no, little brother is dad right now because they've owned you. And Ole Miss turned around and shut that up really quick. Thought they would get swept. Now you're thinking you may owe me $1,000 if they get to 7 SEC wins. You better not. I know that was the deal, but I am willing to let you out of that deal. Sweep looked like it was coming on Friday. Prove me wrong. Me too. Grove Bowl was not perfect. It seemed like a big success. The crowd there seemed to enjoy it. Could use a few tweaks. The rope pulling was kind of lame. They can turn it into a square jam for football. Thought the tug of war with the Greek houses was hilarious. Yeah, and yes, the sororities being involved was really funny. I thought that was really funny. What I would love to see, and I don't know how you do it, because you can't trust people. You can't trust everybody. But I would love to have fans on the field. And like for one of the sides of the field, build like temporary stands where people can be even closer to it. You know, just like you mentioned, the Square Jam. Because at Square Jam, people are right on top of it all. And so that's what I would look explore next is how I can bring people even closer somehow to that. How can I make that even more intimate? But that might be too much to ask, but because too many people are there. And anyway, I was there with my dad and sister, and we had a blast. Have you ever said that about spring games before? The Greek houses were better than the football players. If they could figure out a way to have a safe frat versus football 7 versus 7, that'd be hilarious. I would rather see a frat guy try to rush the passer on Diego Pounds or Micah Pettis. I want to see Micah Pettis engage with the rush chair for Sigma Chi, pick him up in the air and pile drive him into the ground. That's what needs to happen next at the Grove Bowl games. Is we need to see or somebody try to block Princely Umanmielen. That's what I want to see. I want to, like, you know how they put a dummy that represents a quarterback with a ball in his hand, and the drill is beat the tackle, strip the ball. I want to see that with frat guy blocking Princely, but you just tell him to bull rush. That's what needs to happen next. You were 16 the last time Ole Miss won a series versus State. Wow, you can drink legally now too. Golf is the definition of boring. Barbara, get out of here. Please don't. I appreciate you being here, and I love you, Barbara, but golf is boring to some people. Yeah, not me, though. Pels let us down today. Of course they did. Of course they did. Watch, they're going to win Tuesday, though. Bet. That's my optimism showing. I have no reason to believe that they're going to win Tuesday, but they're going to win Tuesday. I love how Jonas doesn't play. I mean, you do all these things that work in this winning streak on the road, and then you come home and then you just forget it all. I don't understand. Zion only getting 13 shots. Whatever. Insert major league gif. They're still shitty. Well, we'll have to see. You assume there's a contingent of State fans who want Lamonis gone? Absolutely. Right now, it's loud. It is loud. I think they're going to make the postseason, though, and I think that'll be enough. So, does Richard win the contest now with Hey Dad? I believe he has. I believe he has locked that up. Well, I guess softball's done. I don't know. So it was every sport. It was soccer, football, which counts as 2, men's and women's basketball, baseball, softball. So whatever that total is. But there still is the Governor's Cup. So Aiken, South Carolina native here. You guys busy this time of year, I assume. Is it just you, or does it look like Kiffin's really starting to love it here? Absolutely. He looks extremely comfortable where he is. It helps that the entire institution in town and fan base and everybody is giving him literally whatever he wants to win. It's easy to be happy somewhere that is giving you everything you could possibly need to be successful, right? So that's part of it. But yes, he looks really, really comfortable. Lane Kiffin 2021 is not Lane Kiffin 2024. I've talked to people that have worked in the past at Ole Miss football under him, and the things that they tell me that the ways that it used to be just a few years ago versus the way things are now is pretty dramatically different. So, oh, Ben, thank you for that information. I appreciate you. Do we factor podcasts into our numbers? Yes, but the radio audience is significant. It's our bread and butter still, for sure. Have I seen the Rebel Report grow since I went Ole Miss focused? Yeah, I have for sure, and I think that football is really going to take off. But yes, 100%, the numbers are significantly larger than doing it the previous way, without a doubt. Very good thing, because this is the time of year where things start to kind of taper off some, the off season. So this has helped a lot. Scotty got it done today. His post-round interview is why I support the man. Absolutely. See, that's kind of what I'm talking about. And I know I'm a little behind on messages, but that's what I'm talking about is that perspective that um, he's just the kind of person that I want my son, who I'm trying to get into golf, to look at as, oh, I want to be a golfer like Scotty Scheffler. And then when he watches post-round interview with Scotty, that's what he's talking about. I mean, contrast it with the way Zach Johnson handled himself this week, right? Not that anybody's looking up to Zach Johnson, but that's what I'm talking about. And I'm a big fan of his. I like Max. I like Colin. I mean, the top Ludwig Oberg is a guy that I respect, honestly, because after the Ryder Cup, so the Ryder Cup was in Italy, obviously. That's a long, kind of tough week, right? The week after was the Sanderson Farms Championship. And you guys know me, I love the Sanderson Farms Championship. I talk about it all the time. We have the director on the radio show often. I love the tournament. I go to all 4 rounds. I tell people that they need to go, but it's a fall swing PGA Tour event during football season. It's tough, right? So it's not the biggest event on tour by any stretch. But Ludwig was in the Ryder Cup with the Euros. Everybody and their brother would have understood if he made the decision to not come to the Sanderson for the next week. Everybody would have understood. He just had the Ryder Cup, long flight, all that. Dude got on a plane and showed up here anyway and played well. I mean, was in contention. Made the playoff, right? The 6-man playoff. And I've always respected him after that. The fact that in his mind, no, I made a commitment. And no, I know it's not the Ryder Cup. I just played in the Ryder Cup, but he got on a plane and flew across the Atlantic to play in the Sanderson Farms Championship after the Ryder Cup. And ever since then, I've respected him too. So the leaderboard in this was great today. I wish there was a little bit more drama, but this was a really good day, a really good tournament for golf, I think. The lack of drama harmed it some, but this was a good weekend. Tiger made the cut. It's a good weekend. Yes, and that's another good point. This will become more popular to avoid tampering. Because I promise the teams that played real spring games this weekend, you've got other coaches watching their film, probably today, calling up guys that they think that they could use that played in spring games. It's happening for sure. His kid is loving Oxford too. Looks like it. That was a big reason why he stayed instead of went to Auburn. So Kiffin staying at Ole Miss, becoming more committed and comfortable, has made things more successful, it looks like. There's no doubt. People internally are more willing because he's more, not accessible, but more, there's a give and take. And he's giving more. And so he's getting to take more. 100%. Watching some of the Masters this weekend makes you want to get into golf. It's never too late. Never, ever, ever too late. Because, Edward, everybody sucks. Everybody sucks at golf. So don't worry about it. It's never too late. If you've ever swung a bat in your life, you'll be able to pick up a golf swing. It may not be great. I mean, you have to practice. You have to work at it to be, to get better. But everybody sucks. It's never too late. Pick it up. If you want how to get into it advice, I'm here for you because I think, and it's not as expensive as people think it is. It's really not. There's a couple municipal courses here in the area in Jackson that are extremely cheap and accessible, and they're fine. You don't need to be a member of a country club to play golf. That's a misconception with the sport too. So, do I think Kentucky gives Mark Pope fair time to prove himself? I do. I actually do. The press conference today was an indicator that they might be all in on this deal. I'm not convinced that it's going to go poorly the way some people are. He was at BYU, He's got all the resources and brand power in the world at his disposal right now. I think it could end up working okay. It's not like Cal has been great over the last few years, It's been the opposite of great. The bickering between Arkansas and Kentucky fans is funny. It's hilarious. Heard Tiger performed very poorly. Him making the cut was a big deal considering the surgeries and lack of playing. So, shout out to Joel Klatt for calling out Ole Miss for some reason during the Ohio State spring game. Yeah, the cold weather deal. Um, it- I think that's incredibly overblown, personally. But Joe Klatt would never say, "Why doesn't Ohio State go down south to play Ole Miss?" I mean, how often does Ohio State players play in the snow? Right, like once every few years. Oh, they're used to the cold. Are they? Oh, half of Ohio State's roster, more than half, is from south of the Mason-Dixon line. How used to the cold are they? Their season's their season is 70% over by Halloween. What are we talking about? Hey, whatever. I saw that, and whatever. But that's him. So anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Good weekend, really good weekend for Ole Miss sports. So hope you enjoyed it. No, you did. And we will be back on Tuesday. We'll be back on Tuesday. I will be stressing through a play-in game on Tuesday, so please forgive me for how I'm going to be acting during that. But we're gonna get through it together, I guess. So thank you guys. You guys are the best. Please like the video. Leave a comment as well if you are watching this after the fact. I still see them, and I would love to get them. So thank you guys, and I'll see you on Tuesday.